we know that Israel will stand alone and that no one comes to their aid except the Most High God. And in order for that to happen, the United States of America either has to not exist, or it has to pick the other team, or it's got to be tied up with stuff all over the world where it's incapable of doing anything. And any one of those options, in my mind, is very possible. I want your impressions on that.
Well, I think you nailed it perfectly, because what we see there in Ezekiel 38 is you see three groups: Sheba, Dedan, and the young lions thereof,
Right.
making. It's like reading the news. They're making a diplomatic protest against the machinations of this Northern Confederacy coming down, and yet for whatever reason they choose not to be directly involved or to directly oppose that, except through diplomatic channels. So I think you nailed it. Either they're incapable, or some future administration will have already chosen to abandon Israel for whatever reason, or there's threats from those other nations. We're so weak that there's threats from those other nations against us where we can't do it. But we know Genesis 12:3 is still true, that if you bless Israel, you'll be blessed. If you curse them, you will be cursed. And so watching what's happening, really going back to the Obama administration, you have 8 years there, and of course the last 4 with the Biden administration, it does not bode well for the future of our country based on that principle alone.
Well, I agree. I agree with you 100%. There's an article, by the way, on this on the Israeli National News. I encourage people to go there and take a look at it. The article is titled "A Pro-Israel U.S. President," and underneath it, it says Jews who vote for Democrats in 2024 when it comes to the subject of Israel simply have no understanding of what it means to be a Jew, or worse, they have no background or no understanding of their religion or religious identity. Do you agree with that, Mondo?
Oh, 100%. And, you know, my undergrad is in Jewish studies. And so, in watching American Jewry being so leftist, and what we're seeing now, we're actually seeing well, let me say it this way. When October 7th happened, you saw a solidarity around the world of Jewish people. It didn't matter what your political persuasion was. Right. But as the last 5 months have ground on with this the campaign in Gaza, now what you see is American Jewry coming against Israel, especially Netanyahu. They're towing the line of liberal, I would say American liberal politics, Obama, Biden, etc., that hate Netanyahu, and even trying to join together with other more liberals in the state of Israel, in their government. And this is what people need to remember. Like, the Labor Party is primarily the leftist group in the modern state of Israel. And they had their day. I mean, back in the 70s, 80s, I mean, they were the one. But over the last 10, 15 years, I think the last election, they had six basically votes, 6 members that won. So they are completely have lost their influence, understandably so. But yet they are still strong. They still want to undo what Netanyahu's government is doing. You have this contingent. It's almost like mirror image. You have the leftists in Israel trying to attack Netanyahu, and you have the leftists here trying to attack Trump. So it's amazing that they're using the courts. They're using accusations as well as criminal charges and other things. Now, I'm not saying that everybody's innocent here, but yet the motive is still the same, and the MO is still the same.
Right. I agree with that. David, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, it's the same leaders, right? It all goes back to the top, and then ultimately, to Satan and his cohorts. So they're all feeding the same information. I would agree, but it's like I said, I've been doing this 44 years now. Been looking for the king to come, and looks like the water broke.
It did.
Birth pains.
Yeah. Well, now
the convergence of everything happening right now. I'm just saying,
Mondo, again, you've got a much bigger sight than me. But, I'm seeing so much going on right now. When we first started this show about 3 years ago, I was having trouble filling a 30-minute time frame. Okay, because the whole thing was based on current events and the Bible prophecy, and I was really I was struggling filling 30 minutes. Now, I cannot possibly get everything I need in to a 1-hour show, and we run it 3 times a week. So, I mean, it tells you exactly how much things have blown up and they're going nuts. Now, I got one question for you about what's going on in Jerusalem, or in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, actually, over the weekend. Massive protest, they said, the biggest protest in the history of Israel. Is that true, or is that being blown out of proportion by the fake news media?
Well, it's hard to. There's always protests. I was there about a year ago. And there were protests going on which were interrupting our tour. And so what we have to remember is these media outlets, primarily they take their cues from America,
right?
In that it's always about hype. It's always, for example, Trump is going to be an absolute dictator. He's going to take away freedom. It's like, which world are you living in? I mean, what I see right now, the current administration is far worse than Trump ever did.
Right.
But when you look at these things, these sensationalistic claims, nobody holds them accountable. So they can say whatever they want. And even and most of the time they know 100% it's not true.
Right.
But since nobody holds them accountable, they can say it and get away with it. And then the average undiscerning individual, which there are many, they take it, they run with it, they pass it along to others. And then, of course, as we know, the rumors and the lies, when you say it so many times, it becomes truth in the eyes of people.
There we go with Goebbels again. I don't like Nazi comparisons, but I'll say it very clearly. He said, tell the biggest lie as often as you can, and people will believe it. And that is exactly what's going on in the world right now. By the way, just to follow up quickly with you on that, the Knesset has passed a bill to close Al Jazeera in Israel. They said that they don't need a mouthpiece for Hamas there, and I agree with that move 100%. Okay, I got one other news story for you, and this again affects both the United States and really the world in Israel. Let's listen to this one.
On Saturday, a 3-ship convoy departed from a port in Cyprus, carrying 400 tons of food and other essential supplies destined for Gaza, as concerns about hunger in the territory continue to escalate.
World Central Kitchen stated that the vessels and a barge were loaded with enough provisions to prepare more than 1 million meals, including items such as rice, pasta, flour, legumes, canned vegetables, and proteins. Additionally, dates, traditionally consumed to break the daily fast during the holy month of Ramadan, were also on board, Liam White reporting.
Now, as far as I know, Israel has not blocked any food aid to Gazan citizens. Instead, it's the terrorists there that are doing that. Am I incorrect in that, Mondo?
Oh no, you are absolutely correct. And in fact, it's egregious what is happening there, that Hamas is actually not only taking the stuff, but they're actually shooting their own civilians in order to take the stuff and hijack it, to put it in their tunnels, trying to outlast any sort of future siege. Because, the operation in Gaza, especially if they get down to Rafah in the south, they don't really know how long that could last, because that's the last battalions that they're going after of Hamas down there. It's going to take a little bit of time. And so they know what they need to do, but it's absolutely. I mean, in fact, many of these people, they're running over. There's videos of them running over their own citizens, taking the stuff and screeching away. And again, where's the accountability? I mean, you don't see this. The European Union and others, the Security Council, they're defending Hamas, and even our own administration in many ways. There's no accountability, and even recently, Israel they basically outlawed the UN, WRA, and any of that, because they know that they were part of the actions of that day of October 7th.
Right.
So the United States, surprisingly as well, cut off all funding by congressional order, which to me, the Congress has a far more realistic understanding of what's on the ground than the current administration does.